Hello, everyone. My name is Zach, and welcome to On Cash Flow, where I help you become a master of your own cash flow. Now, let's get started. If you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to watch my first rental property video. Okay, it just came out right before this one. And today we're going to be talking about the second rental property that I purchased. And this one's going to be pretty fun to talk about because it was a much bigger undertaking than the first property. The same idea, the same concept, the same strategy, but on a much bigger scale, I'd say. All right, so here you can see this is the picture of the outside before we renovated. So this is basically the picture that I was looking at when I was looking at properties to purchase. And now it does look a little bit different. There's still the brick on the outside, but the main difference you'll see if you're looking from the front is this garage door right here is actually a French doors now. And the entire part down there, it was like a basement slash garage, is all completely finished. And it looked spectacular when it happened. But one thing you'll notice here is the before 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, 1,240 square feet. That was just the on top part. And we didn't end up putting a bathroom in this house, but we did just finish the entire basement out. So it's still a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, but the square footage was essentially doubled. And there's no particular part that is like sectioned off, I should say, as a bedroom, but it's still double the square footage, and it's highly desirable to have that much livable space down there. So let's look at the numbers now. Now, this purchase was done in February of 2023, and the purchase price was $170,000. And keep in mind, this was a fixer-upper. The basement was, completely barren, like a classic basement, but also the upstairs needed a lot of work as well. And not only that, when you do purchase a property, you're going to have your closing costs. So the closing costs for this property were about $6,887. And of that, we had to make a down payment 15% of the purchase price, which was $25,500. And so that's why I have the total acquisition cost just to get the property in our name at $32,387. Now let's take a look and break down those closing costs. So here's the closing costs that we had when we bought this property. 1% loan origination fee, like with most loans, so $1,945 for that. The appraisal came at $560, and then we had the home inspection and the pest inspection that totaled $540. Some other miscellaneous loan fees in there, $50 worth. Then we had to prepay our insurance for the entire year at closing, and that was $920. And then we had to put up some escrow reserves, I think, for the remainder of the year is usually what they do. This house also is in the county, so the property taxes were a little bit lower because it didn't have county and city taxes. That's kind of how it works where we live. And then the title fees, change over the title and get them to look at all that stuff, $650. And this property required a mobile notary. I do have a business partner, and he does not live in the same area. And so if he needed to notarize something, we had to pay for a mobile notary. So that was $200 that we put at closing for that. And the title insurance for this property was $714. We opted to purchase title insurance for us, and we also opted to pay for the bank's title insurance because we have no choice. Yeah, so that was $714. And then the taxes for all of this stuff was $1,025. So we add all that up there, and that was $6,887. And with the purchase price of $170,000, that was 4.1%. So a pretty high percentage, I think, I would say. But there is also a pretty obvious reason for that. You'll notice that I said the loan origination fee was 1%, which is $1,945. But that was more than the purchase price if you took 1% of that. And there's a pretty funny reason for that. That's why part of the reason why I said this property was a much bigger undertaking was for this reason. So let's go back to the numbers here. Now, the mortgage amount was more than the purchase price. Isn't that funny? So $194,500 was our total mortgage amount. And our rate for this one, because rates were going up at this point, it was higher than the first property. So the rates for this one are 6.99%. And that put our monthly mortgage, which was a 30-year amortization, at $1,448. And that included the insurance and the taxes and all that. So that's the total monthly payment. Now, rental property number 2 was a much bigger rehab job than rental property number 1. First off, the house was much bigger. That plus the fact that the upstairs also was kind of a fixer-upper. It needed a lot of work up there. Our total rehab cost for this property was $50,000, around there. And the funny part about this loan, we actually kind of did a 2-in-1. It was kind of a sweet deal for us because our primary strategy is to come in, renovate a property, and then go ahead and cash out, refinance that property after the renovations are done. And we forced a lot of equity into it by essentially doubling square footage and all that stuff. But what happened with this particular loan is we were able to get basically the cash out refinance up front. So we were able to actually get it as a rehab loan, basically to fix up the property. Essentially, to us, how it worked on paper was kind of a pretty good deal because we didn't have to do the cash out refinance afterwards. And this allowed us to basically not have as much money out of pocket. So the amount of the rehab estimate, which was $50,000, was the amount of loan that we were able to get. So what the mortgage normally would have been was it would have been 85% of $170,000. If you take that 85% of the purchase price of $170,000 and you add $50,000, which was the rehab loan, for the renovations and all that, that is how you get $194,500. And so that was our initial mortgage. It was technically more than the purchase price because of the $50,000 basically rehab loan or renovation loan. And then you also have the basic holding costs while this property was being renovated. It took a little longer than the first property just because the amount of renovations were much more. So I put it at about 3 months of total holding costs, 3 months of mortgage at $1,448 plus about $100 a month for utilities and miscellaneous holding expenses. So $300 there. Add those up, $4,644. So what you get at the end here is the acquisition plus rehab. Out of pocket, we were out $37,031. That's how much cash we had to come up with rather than that amount plus $50,000, which was normally what you would have to have in cash. So we would normally have to have had about, over $80,000, almost $90,000 in order to get that renovation done and then go and kind of cash out, refinance it later. But since we were able to get the rehab loan included in the initial mortgage, that meant we only had to come up, and I say only, with $37,000 out of pocket. And after all that was said and done, we got it rented out in June of 2023 for $1,900 a month. The first property was rented at $1,500. This one rented at $1,900. And we were very actually shocked by the ARV, by the after repair value, $272,000, because we did have to get a second appraisal done on the property after it was completed. And that's what it came back at. And that was back in June of 2023. Since then, you know what's happened. Real estate prices have continued to go up at a dramatic rate. And so what I did was I needed to estimate what the value is today. So I took a screenshot from the realtor website that lists the average cost per square foot for properties in the zip code where this home is located, and it is very high relative to our other properties. So they put it at $221 per square foot. So we essentially doubled the square footage of this house at $2,480, but we didn't add another bathroom or another bedroom technically. So I took a bigger, basically downwards adjustment as I usually would for other properties where we've added another bedroom or added another bathroom. I took the median listing price, $221 per square foot, and I adjusted it down by 30%. So that puts it at $155 per square feet. Multiply that by the square footage, 2,480, and I get the estimated value at $383,656. I actually don't think this is far off. I think this is pretty darn close to what it could be worth. Of course, this is another property where we have a lot of equity in the property now, if that is true. And so this could be a good potential property to cash out refinance in the near future. The current mortgage is now at $190,109. And so I estimate our equity in that property is $193,547, or a loan to value of 50-50. So 50% of the value of the house is loan and 50% of it is in equity, is what my estimate is. And the total rent is still $1,900 per month as of today. So really, rental property number 2 was a very big undertaking for us. It was a lot of learning, a lot of work, but according to this, if this estimated value is directionally accurate, it was very much worth it because we built so much equity with this property. Hopefully you are just as excited that I am about the next property, because yes, we have rental property number 3, and I really look forward to making that video. It's coming out next, so please make sure you stay tuned for that video. And before I get off here, I just want to say that if there's anything that's going on in your personal financial life that you want another set of eyes on, that you want a second opinion on, I can offer that to you at oncashflow.com/consult. If you just go to that page, you can see all the information there on how I can offer you some help. I would really appreciate it if you just went to that webpage and just took a look at it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm Zach from oncashflow.com, and I hope to see you next time.